Hello and welcome back. I'm Dr. Nicola and you are watching Aspen Talks Health, where we learn about alternative healing modalities and how we can show up more compassionately for ourselves and the world. So today's guest is Laurie Nathe. She is a Nethe health practitioner, which is the latest technology on healing. It's fascinating. I am blown away by this system, and so we're going to learn all about that. It's a lovely alternative healing modality that I'm really excited to share with you guys. So welcome, Laurie.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
So tell us about your personal journey. How did you even come to find the system?
I had some health challenges that I had since childhood. I grew up in a house with mold, so from the age of 12 till 20, I was on antibiotics pretty much every winter. And I'm from Minnesota, so we would have these really heavy-duty winters. And the contractors found out later in years that they never sealed the windows properly, and my bedroom window was ground level. So I would have sinus and ear infections and be losing my voice every winter. And so I was going to doctors when I was in my 20s and I need some help. And they wanted to put me on steroids and inhalers. And I'd been on antibiotics every winter. So it's really damaging to the digestive system. And so I was looking at alternatives. So I started looking. I had an aunt that referred me to a chiropractor that did biofeedback. And I've kind of looked at that ever since, as working with energy and looking at how to read the body and what was going on within my body instead of just taking a pill or an inhaler. And that was kind of my starting point.
Wow. What were your original solutions to the mold?
Well, we had a dehumidifier running every year.
Okay.
But my father, who was in the contracting industry, he didn't even realize how damaging it was. And I would lose my voice. I would be so sick. And that was how I went through my high school years, was trying to learn and study. And I was struggling with my education because I wasn't feeling well.
Right. The mold causes brain fog, I've heard.
Brain fog, sinus, ear infections. They're really looking at how mold is so damaging to the brain and the digestive system. And people can have all kinds of different symptoms. From my brother would have bloody noses and arthritis, but we didn't categorize that as a mold issue, and my parents didn't even think of looking at it as mold, and I didn't even really think of it as mold at that time.
Can different molds cause different reactions?
Symptoms? Yep. And there are a lot of different tests out there now for testing for mold, and it's really important. I tell clients to be really looking for that when you move into a place. I've had probably 5 mold exposures in my life, and some people are a lot more sensitive than others. So you could have somebody in the household saying, I'm fine, and then another person could have
just a mess.
Could be really going downhill, and it could shut you down emotionally, physically, just run you down. It can cause mold rage. It can cause brain problems and concentration and focus, and shut you down.
So I've tested recently positive for mold within myself. Fungus, is mold and fungus the same? So I tested high on mold and fungus, and the issue is actually the mycotoxins, the byproducts that they release from digesting whatever food or whatever they do. It's kind of like they're pooping in your
they store in your body. They store in your brain and your digestive tract, your lungs.
Wow.
And then we have the biggest research now is really looking at viruses and bacteria and mold and how that plays a role, and then how parasites, and you'd have somebody say, I'm doing a candida cleanse, but it's not clearing up. Well, it could be that you have parasites, candida, mold. People who have Lyme's disease are showing up as having mold issues first, because the mold damages your immune system, and then you're more susceptible to other things.
Oh my God, and then you get put on antibiotics, which damages your immune system even more.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
And then in my 20s, I had a dentist that said, all your mercury fillings, which were amalgam fillings back then, need to be replaced. They were leaking. So he had replaced all my fillings with new mercury fillings. So that took a toll on me in my 30s and started messing with my thyroid and my hormones.
Wow.
So, back then you could go to the doctors and they wouldn't know what to do.
No idea.
Yeah.
I've actually heard that the mercury and high levels of heavy metals can create a more susceptible environment for the mold to come in and cause destruction.
Yeah.
So they often go together.
Yeah, they're all symbiotic. So the parasites will eat your heavy metals, and your heavy metals go into your bones, and they harbor in there. Your body is looking for minerals. So if you're not giving the right nutrients, then your body is taking those minerals in and trying to use that mercury and toxic metals like cadmium and lead.
Yeah, I tested high for both of those.
Yep.
Unbelievable. My symptoms were extremely tired and always hungry.
Yep.
And brain fog. I was often searching for words. And it's interesting, I started a regimen of high astragalus and all these different herbal antifungal pills.
Yep.
And I mean, I took a handful at night. But I woke up the next morning not hungry, not tired. After a few days of doing it, so I knew there was definitely a problem in there that I'm starting to address. But tell us more about Nethe Health. How did this really come into the picture, and what did it do for you?
Well, I lived in the Valley for 12 years, and then I moved to Boulder for a natural chef and a nutrition educator class.
Nice.
And I had moved into a townhome where I got poisoned with rat poison that was poured through the vent system.
Oh my God, it's never
ending.
ending.
And carbon monoxide poisoning is what they figured, and a really filthy furnace. So I got this major bacteria sinus infection going on, and it reminded me so much of when I was a kid that I was just like really toxic, and I couldn't read and retain. And so it gave me depth perception issues, and I started having falls. I fell and twisted my back and fractured my back for the first time in 2009. Wow. And even going to the clinic in Boulder, I'm like, I think I've been poisoned, but nobody knew what to do. And my intuitive skill was to go outside, and I just took a sleeping bag and I slept outside, or laid outside for several hours. Huh. So that was my first fall. And I started having these depth perception problems, and my brain just wasn't communicating right. I couldn't read and retain a page, so I had to let go of my nutrition educator class, and I did finish my natural chef class. But I had taken, they kind of put me on a totally different trajectory of my life, and I decided to go tropical. My body was saying tropical to heal. So I went tropical for a few months, and I went back home to take care of my mom, which was back in that moldy house. And even contractors would tell you that if it's behind walls, it's fine, but it really is not. It's still in the air. It's in your furnace vents. And so I had to I couldn't get any help from a practitioner. Like I didn't know, my brain just wasn't even working well enough to understand what had happened to me. Like someone goes, you should have hired an attorney, and I started with the process and I couldn't follow through. Wow. Anyway, and then in 2014, well, I had 2010, I went and took care of my mom with Alzheimer's and mold, and then in 2014, I went to Bali after I got my mom settled in a care facility. And I was on a scooter, and my brain was not communicating right, and I couldn't squeeze, my left hand wasn't squeezing the trigger. Like I'm going brake, 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 but my left part was not responding. So I ended up fracturing my back for the second time. Oh. And I had to travel back on my trip. And that was a raw chef class I was taking in Bali. I was so excited to go on. So I was in pain most of the 2 weeks I was there. Oh, no. But so that, when I came back, I started looking at how to heal my body. I had been gifted some money, and I wanted to like work on my brain and work on my back, and I was still in a lot of pain. So a microcurrent came into my life. I used that for several years to help with my brain injury in my back. But I really wanted to be able to work with clients and really help educate people. And so I sold that, and I found Nethe, a friend, fellow practitioner in Minnesota told me about it. And Nethe Health is a company who has been around for 15 years. They have 5,000 practitioners worldwide, and they have about 3-4 office locations. And I think they're in 25 countries now. And Nethe Health is a collaboration between Peter Fraser, who is an acupuncturist with chronic fatigue, and he was doing all the research on the body field. And then Harry Massey, who is the CEO and the founder of Nethe Health, he had chronic fatigue, and he was in college, and he was really struggling, and he couldn't even get out of bed to go see a practitioner, and he had tried everything. He had tried the raw diet, IV fluids. He went through a lot of different practitioners and healing modalities trying to heal. And the two of them collaborated, and Peter had taken his knowledge of being an acupuncturist and looking at the meridian fields of the body. And then and Harry was researching the healing properties and information in water instead of homeopathic, trying to help heal him. So they got together and they collaborated, and they came up with the Nethe Health system. So it has over 30 years of research behind it. Peter collaborated with a lot of scientists, physicists, and he mapped out the human body field. So Nethe Health is a combination of the collaboration of them. And what Harry wanted to do was make sure if you are really chronic and you couldn't even see a doctor, you couldn't travel, you're too exhausted. They both had chronic fatigue. So they came together and they created Nethe Health.
Show us the machine, please.
So, so what Nethe Health does is it has a cloud-based system.
Okay.
And then we can scan the body and check your human body field, and it does it in like 5 seconds.
Amazing.
And it checks over 440 points in the body. So it's looking through your meridian fields, it's going through all your cells in your body, and it's looking for distortions and blockages. So anytime we have a toxin, emotional stress, a surgery, anything like that that causes a ripple in our body energy field.
Yeah.
And so this is a My Health device, and it's just a little handheld device that clients can have in the comfort of their own home, and they can work on their physical body, emotional trauma. Traveling up here, I was like, I'm going to work on reducing stress before the interview, and it works on emotional stuff.
Wow.
So it has little electrodes, so you can work on your body, and then you can work on your back, or you can set it on a broadcast mode and just lay it like this, or lay it on your heart, and it will broadcast through the body.
Fascinating. And so we did this, and I got
Yep.
some interesting results. So you put it on the table, correct? And
Yeah, you can
just
put it on
your
the table
hand-
just like this.
And you put your hand on it for a few seconds.
Yep.
And then it scans back, and it tells you all sorts of really interesting information in a software program that is very elaborate. I mean, it goes through every single point and where you're storing different emotional reactions. I had fear of attack or fear of loss was being stored in my eye.
Yep.
Which is interesting because as a child I had glasses, and I don't know if this is 100% sure, but my mother divorced a man that I absolutely loved as a child. He was my just a really important person in my life, and he created that stability that I think I needed.
Yeah.
And so when he left, my mom says I cried for 2 years. And so and then I think shortly after that, maybe, or before, I'm not sure, but interesting that I have a fear of loss in my eye. And then there was also a fear of attack, which was fascinating. And then it detected the pancreas issues with the diabetes that I've been suffering from, and some heart. I have a lot of chest pains because of the diabetes, I think, because when your blood sugars are high, your blood becomes thick like Aunt Jemima. Think Aunt Jemima syrup. So then your heart is trying to pound much thicker liquid. It wears out. And then maybe on an energetic level, if I'm storing any hurt there.
Yep.
Fascinating how it picked up everything.
Yeah. It's in like 5 seconds, and it doesn't diagnose us. It's really going through our body and saying, okay, you're the highest priority. So just like we are, our embryo, as an embryo, we are being developed, the body also has a certain order in which the body wants to heal. So the system is telling us what are your highest priorities. And sometimes those are emotional traumas that need support, as well as physical. So it could be your pancreas showed up. but it wasn't saying that it wanted to work on the pancreas just yet.
First,
it had something else that was a higher priority. So I have had that happen with other clients. They're like, well, this is a priority. I had this is a, but your body needs to have a certain order to heal. And so.
Yeah, there's probably a cascading effect where one thing affects this, you know, so you start with the top.
I tell clients it's like a highway, like from driving to the airport. Like we're here in Aspen. If you had to drive down to Denver, the time of day, if it's snowing, if it's ski season, you know, tourism, you know, what day of the week, all of those are factors in how the body needs to get communication going.
Makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
Yep.
And so there's different programs that you can.
Yeah.
It will automatically, or you choose the programs that you as a practitioner. You probably know.
I'm a certified practitioner, and I can program through the website, because what's so nice about this, just compared to just like any TENS unit or any other, this is a PEMF device, which is a pulse electromagnetic frequency. But this is, the system is telling us where to place this, like where on the body, along the spine, muscles, bone, tissue, emotional. But I can also program through the online system a program for you. And I can go by your scan, and then you can just run this every day, and you can just, I love this little leather case, and I'll just hang it around my neck, and I can just sit and run it.
Yeah.
Like for my back, I can just run my back, all my muscles in my back. I can run muscle, bone, tissue for as long as I want.
Fascinating. So, if I may play devil's advocate, if it's emotional, and I don't fix the emotional, let's say, trauma in my head, can this really help to still fix it?
Well, the funny thing is, we don't even have to know what it is, but we carry 7 generations of trauma from our families. So it could be something from our parents, you know, some kind of negative effect that happened to them, like a loss or a major trauma.
Yeah.
And it can show up in the scan. And so what it does is it's correcting information, and it does it 2 ways. It does it with the infraceuticals, which is information imprinted into water. And then it also used the device. I put it in its little safe case, and you can run emotional points on the body. So it does it 2 ways, and it's clearing emotional trauma and physical trauma.
Interesting.
And like a surgery as well.
Wow. Fascinating, huh?
So we have a story of a woman who had a C-section, and she had scars all the way across her belly, and it caused discomfort, and she would horseback ride and, you know, trying to wear a pair of pants, and she said it was always felt numb there, and there was lack of communication going on. Scar tissue.
Makes sense.
We have a specialist in Texas that works with eye health, and he's helped clients with reversing macular degeneration because it's the liver that's needing support.
Wow, so interesting.
Yeah.
You really get to what the root cause, not necessarily emotionally, but just where the first source is.
Well, we don't know if something happened, like a physical accident or an emotional trauma. We don't know. Sometimes, you know, like for me, the things that had happened to me, you know, I was having people, sometimes people say, oh, it's, you know, self-sabotage. Well, I moved into a place and it was poisoned. I don't think that had anything to do with me. It was just the luck of the draw. And then how are you going to, you know, fix this? How are you going to move forward? And I've gone to doctors. I've gone to naturopaths, and they don't always know how to detox the body.
Yeah.
So that's where my focus has been, is really learning how to detox the body and really listening to clients and saying, let's peel away a layer. Like, okay, so you talked about your emotional trauma. Okay, so this blows emotional freedom technique out of the water. This is helping clear this with the infraceuticals every day and the My Health device. It's like a little pocket doctor. You're able to work on a headache or migraine or pain or your emotional trauma with these to help clear it, because it's all information. It's all just distortions and blockages in the body that are causing this trauma to get stuck in our body.
Yeah. How has it helped you? Do you feel the difference right away? Can you feel it?
Sometimes when I'm working on people, we can feel it, and sometimes people don't. Like I did have a client who had said she had had several concussions, and she's never seen a doctor for that. And I recommended that she does, because if we've had a toxic exposure or head traumas, those things are cumulative, and as we age, it puts us at a higher risk for dementia and Alzheimer's. So we want to really work on the brain health before it gets later in life and we're really struggling.
Right.
So just working around the head, just off body like this, you're able to sometimes feel the energy.
Right. Wow. And then people feel more clear after? Or?
And it can depend. Some people might not feel anything. And then, but then all of a sudden I'm a lot more calmer. I'm not reacting so much. Or, I can think better. I've had people with eyesight improve. For me, the first, you scan the body and you do the infoceuticals for 30 days. And the first round, I just felt like my brain was on. And after the traumas and stuff I've been through with my brain health, I was so excited.
Yeah.
And then towards the end of the 3 weeks, my eyes started itching really bad for 3 days. They're just like itching. And I was like, what's going on? And I had been getting blurry vision. And pancreas and kidney and stuff had showed up for me on my first round. And I realized, I knew that I had some kind of blood sugar issues. So I could feel some shifts in that, and my blurriness disappeared.
Wow,
it was like my eyesight was clearer.
Huh. Yeah, that's because the capillaries in your eyes are the smallest in your body, and when your blood sugars are high, your veins, your capillaries constrict, and so the first thing that you notice is your vision goes.
Yep.
As a diabetic, or before you're about to get diagnosed, you'll notice that.
And I used to wear glasses when I was a kid, and then in my 30s, 35, I ended up having the LASIK surgery, so I didn't need reading or seeing glasses anymore, long distance blur, but I do use reading glasses, but I was really noticing the blurriness, and so that's gone away for me.
Wow. So who else can this help? Did that help the woman, by the way, with the C-section?
Yes.
So
it softened the scar. She said that she's getting the feeling back. I have a client who has a hole in her tooth, and she had really severe nerve pain as the tooth was dying. And she used the infoceuticals and the My Health device every day, just like this. And it only takes 20 minutes. You can do this every day. And she went back to the dentist. It was going to cost her $4,000 to go through like a root canal, which she didn't want to do, or have the tooth pulled and put some kind of spacer in there. It was going to cost $4,000. So she was able to correct that. Wow. The hole in the tooth is gone. The nerve pain is gone. She does have some residual nerve stuff going on, so we're still working on what is the root cause of that. And it could be every tooth we have is correlated somewhere into our body. So a tooth that I had a problem with before I got Nethe was correlated with my stomach. So stomach is still a big issue for me. So that's why I'm really working on it. I have a client with a dog that has cancer. She has been improving, and this is a 15-year-old golden, and she is improving. She's seen several different practitioners in the valley, and she's gotten great results with Nethe.
Wow.
So we can scan animals with this. We can treat an animal. We can do long-distance consulting with this.
Excellent. Really interesting.
And we have another dog that had cataracts. And as an older dog, people don't want to do surgery on a dog with cataracts. Right. And she was walking along the walls, and when she went outside at night to go to her last potty break, she would get scared and get lost because she couldn't see the light if she walked away from the house. And she's improved a lot. She's running around like a puppy, and she doesn't walk along the walls anymore, and she's just a totally different dog.
Oh, how sweet.
And you notice even clients with emotional challenges, I've noticed big shifts in. For me, I think my fight or flight calmed way down after my first couple months, which was big. So anyway,
interesting.
Yep.
It calms the nervous system or the...
Yeah, and that's one of the first things I noticed that it does for people is I have a client that had, it showed up for her. She's like, well, I don't know if it's doing anything. And I'm like, really? And she goes, well, I'm not as irritable and I'm not snapping at people and I'm just a lot more calmer. I said, that's huge because our immune system is, run by that. And your stress level, calming your nervous system down is huge.
Wow.
But I think that's one of the biggest challenges with this is people don't understand what it's supposed to look like in this healing process. Sometimes it could look like a detox, or I had one client that cried for 3 days. She had been in a very toxic marriage for a long time, and she just needed to release. And
that helped?
It helped. Because that's affecting our brain health.
Yeah.
It's causing stress.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you just have a couple more minutes. Is there anything else that you wanted to share?
I can work remotely with clients. I'm also a health coach and a whole food chef. And so I just love helping peel away the layers to like what's going on, what happened with you in your life, and how to help support that and make that journey a little easier on you.
Nice. And how can people find you?
Laurie Nathe at Gmail. I'm working on my website. It's not up yet, but laurienathe.com.
Okay.
But my phone number is 612-298-4610.
Wonderful. We'll put all of that up on the website.
Okay.
Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you.
I'm very excited
Thank you.
to share. This is really interesting
Yeah.
technology. And I'm so happy it's working for you.
Yes.
And helping your clients as well.
Yep. And we just need to detox, and we have so much going on around us right now with chemtrails and...
That's true.
Yeah.
So much that we don't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And the mold issue is a huge one.
Huge issue.
Yeah, I'm going to get a few specialists on about mold because it's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Please check out aspentalkshealth.com. You can subscribe to my website there and get notified of the latest episodes. And I also include some articles that go a lot more deep into the topics that we discuss. And I share some really personal stories that I don't share on other social media channels. So make sure you go to aspentalkshealth.com and subscribe there and you'll get notified. All right, thank you guys for tuning in. So grateful that you're here.